And once they don't have to hold them anymore, it's going to go way up. And how long that's going to be, who knows? It could be pretty soon. It could be a year from now. I mean, things it tend to, just kind of happen. That, I mean, they build up, obviously, but as far as when it actually finally comes to a head, I mean, I don't have that type of information. And, obviously some people do, because if you look at the crash in 2008, you had, I know the CEO of Countrywide, I think 9 months before or not that long before, sold all his stock and, got out. And so did a lot of them, because they knew everything that was coming. Now, how they knew, I don't know that they knew the exact, day but they knew around when everything was going to happen. So, of course, somebody like me is not going to know that. Even, as I said, I have Ken Shorjan on every Thursday, who talks about the economy and geopolitics. And, his opinion is it's just a matter of when, but you can't put an exact, I mean, he has information, he has sources, but, he can put together kind of a time span, but it's hard to, to pinpoint when those things are going to happen. And it's a false economy, even the stock market. I mean, the Fed can't raise their interest rate. It's at zero. They give money to the banks. The banks aren't lending money. They're just putting it back into the stock market, propping that up. And then Obama has bragged about, the highest, the stock market's been the highest it's been ever. And so we have about 15 minutes left, and I have a couple articles I could get to, and maybe I will. But before I get to those, what I wanted, one of the things that I wanted to talk about is, as I've always said before, that America or the government, the U.S. government, is smart in that they try to maintain a illusion of freedom, or even a level of illusion of freedom. So they, instead of restricting you too much, they allow you to, get things that you enjoy, and people have all these channels, and they have nice cars, and they can buy, of course, buy everything on credit, and they're probably in debt. But people will sit there, obviously, and say, okay, I see what's going on here. I see where it's going. I don't know exactly when it's going to get there, but we're going in a direction where the U.S. government is pretty much taking over. There's not going to be any freedom or liberty pretty soon, but I don't want to risk my job. I don't want to risk, all of these things. I have a nice house. I have kids and this and that. And, well, it hasn't affected me really yet, even though it has affected everybody, regardless of what they say, because of the economy, but in other ways as well that they don't realize. But they think, well, it hasn't affected me to this point, so, whatever. And maybe it's all just bullshit anyway, all the stuff that people are saying. And even though, it's the fact that the police are killing people, the fact that they have tanks, that they have automatic weapons. These are all facts. But it's still I'm comfortable enough that I don't want to risk anything and I'm not even talking about violence or anything like that, but I'm talking about people just saying, I'm not going to stand up. I'm not going to speak out. I don't want to cause any waves. I don't want to cause any problems. I don't want the government to come after me or put me on a list. And hey, I have this nice life, which you're not going to have it for very much longer. That's the whole thing. And then when you're in a situation where you need help, then it's probably too late. When the police are, totally taking over, or it's a situation like are you a member of the Communist Party like they did in the 50s or associated with one. And that's where it's going, and it continues to. You look at the security state as just one aspect, and the more security that they're putting in, how is that freedom? How when you have the government and the head of the, I think, FBI or the CIA or the NSA saying that, you shouldn't be able to have a device that the government can't access. How fucked up is that? There's one good story that I'll end on a positive note since it's Thanksgiving as well. But before I get to that story, it's time to stand up. If you're gonna stand up, if you actually want to be free. Now, I know a lot of people, they want to live in a oligarchy that's controlled by the government, where the government controls every aspect of your life, essentially with a socialist economy where the government makes all the rules and allocates your money to whoever they want to allocate it to. They know every little detail about you stored in a database. Some people want to live in that type of society, but I'm not one of those people, nor will I, live as a slave. So if you feel that things are going that way and you see that things are going that way, now's the time to stand up. Now's the time to do something about it. But so we'll end on a positive note. In Colorado, and I know there's a article I didn't get to that was actually really bad. So I'll have to save that for another time. But in Colorado, I guess they're arresting people for driving under the influence of marijuana. And of course, it can stay in your system, for whatever amount of days. But somehow, I guess they're measuring THC levels, from what I understand. I don't know a lot about these new tests that they have, but they have, that are different than the normal test, where it can stay in your system for 60 days or not 60 days, 30 days or whatever. But I don't think for the most part it really does stay in anybody's system that long, but potentially it could be. But what people are doing are juries are actually finding people not guilty, even if the amount of THC was present at the time they were arrested. So it's essentially jury nullification. Now, I don't know if that's where it's coming from, if it's the people that are finding people not guilty are doing it based off of that or not. But I mean, that's essentially what it is. They're saying that, we don't agree with this law, that just because, and it's probably because the amount too, like how do they determine how much you have in your, like alcohol, they have the blood alcohol level. So how do they determine what's too much? Like what is considered intoxication? Like the same way you would be intoxicated from alcohol, and right now it's like 0.08, which is fucking too low anyway. Or too, yeah, it should be higher than that. And actually it used to be higher than that in Nevada until the federal government blackmailed them and said, well, if you don't up this, then we're going to take away money that we would give you for roads or something like that. So they lowered it from, I think it was 0.10, and then they lowered it to 0.08 eventually, because the federal government wanted every state to have it at 0.08. And the way the federal government, of course, does that is they first start with money and then they try to withhold other things. And it's like a blackmail fucking game to them. But anyway, so I don't know how or what the level is or how they figure out the level. I can't get the article up. I did read it. I don't think it said anything about that. But either way, they're finding people not guilty that are being charged with driving under the influence of marijuana. So I think that's a good thing. It's a positive. We don't find a lot of positive things going on when it comes to courts and justice, because it pretty much doesn't exist in the United States. But that is something that I think is great, that they are finding people not guilty, whether they're doing it based off of jury nullification, which for people don't know, you can go to FIJA and learn more about it. It's essentially where you judge the law, and maybe they're thinking that the law is inappropriate based on how they're measuring how high they are, I guess, because I'm not exactly sure how they're doing that. So either way, it's a positive thing. I hope it continues, and I hope to find more positive articles, but there's not a lot of positive things going on when it comes to the government. It's usually the last one that I can recall is here in Las Vegas, where in Clark County you don't have to register your handguns anymore. And even though the sign's still there, you can open carry in a library. So just so the library knows, I know your sign's still there. I should just fucking do it one day, but because there's nobody in there that has guns. They have security, but security's not armed, because I wouldn't want to get shot by security for open carrying. But even though the sign's there, the law, from what I understand, has changed that you can open carry in the library. And who the fuck's going to go and shoot up a library anyway? Now watch that happen. Anyway, that's all the time we have for tonight. I appreciate everybody that has tuned in on Thanksgiving of all nights. So I hope everybody had a happy Thanksgiving and had some time, I think, to reflect on the positive things in their lives but don't forget about the